Welcome, Keith Okamoto, Manager, Chief Engineer, Hawaii Island Department of Water Supply. Thanks for coming in.
Well, thanks for the invite. Yeah.
Wonderful view.
Terrific. Yeah. Don't have this in Hilo for sure.
Yeah, the blue sky, right?
The blue sky.
Oh,
yeah.
And in the summer,
12th floor view.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you come to be the manager, chief engineer of the water department there?
Pure luck. I actually born and raised on Oahu, and worked the private sector after college, and that route just wasn't for me. I'm more of an outdoors kind of guy. Did visit the Big Island, when I was working for private industry, and it just attracted me. So put in an application, left the corporate ladder world here in downtown Honolulu, and got a staff engineer's job over there at the Department of Water Supply on the Big Island. And then just, progression through various roles within the department led me to become the deputy in 2012 and then the manager in 2015. And that's where I've been since then. Yeah.
So, do you say shave ice or ice shave now?
I still say shave ice.
Okay.
Still say shave ice.
Okay.
Yeah. And beef tomato.
Yeah, beef tomato. Okay. Do you still remember how to catch the bus?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I never really was good at that because, I have to admit, I'm a private school graduate, Iolani School. So my mom took me to school.
Oh.
Yeah, so I never really had to catch the bus. A little bit spoiled.
But so what part of Oahu did you grow?
Kaneohe.
Kaneohe. So, I mean, that's, I would call that a wet place. I mean, I lived in Kaneohe for a little while when I was going to school here in Manoa, but is there a time, I guess, being there in a sort of wet climate where you can think about, there was a moment or some kind of connection you made to water, that really piqued your interest in, like, maybe I want to do this as a career, or was there anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's sometimes people ask that, or how did I become an engineer? And there's really nothing deep behind that. It was more, I don't know if you call it fate, destiny, or what, but even my path to becoming an engineer wasn't a goal of mine from when I was a small kid, right? Well, what small kid's dream is to be an engineer anyway, in the first place? But it was I recall to this day, my dad said, hey, you know what? You're good in math. You should be an engineer. Okay. I didn't know what an engineer did.
Yeah.
I didn't know, have any background. And before I went off to college, he introduced me to some engineers that he knew. But even, when you're in high school, you don't even know what kind of questions to ask. So, and that's where I was. But I just took my father's advice, went into that field in college, graduated, came out into the workforce, and that's kind of where the eyes opened as to, hey, what do a civil engineer role in our society play? And I was in transportation, and then I went to water. And most people think, there's really no relationship, but there kind of is, right? If you look at traffic and transportation, there's flow, right? There's directional flow, similar to water. There's congestion, restriction. So it was an easier transition than I expected, just because of the basic fundamentals behind it. Of course, there's physics and everything involved, but yeah, there was no real big magic decision made that led me to water. But I'm glad whatever led me to water, I'm glad it did, because I really feel strongly about the profession and our role in our society, our community, and the importance that fresh water plays in the health and well-being of our everyday lives.
Yeah, so maybe a kind of a little bit more on that related to the department, I don't have it memorized, but the department's mission, what can you say about that a little more?
Oh, wow, thanks for that question, because that's something I think we need to do a better job of actually getting it out there for the public so they understand what our role is. So at the Department of Water Supply, and we're similar to other water utilities, not only within the state, but across the country, our mission is to provide an adequate and continuous supply of safe drinking water in a financially responsible manner. So there's several major components behind that mission: adequate and continuous, safe drinking water, financially responsible. So, how I like to communicate that when I can is, if you're our customer, you open your tap, water's supposed to come out. You shouldn't have to wonder, oh, is water going to come out if I open the tap? So that's adequate and continuous, yeah? Okay, beyond that, I can fill up my glass, take a shower, drink it, I'm not going to get sick, I'm not going to get rash, I'm not going to get some kind of infection, right? And then the third behind that is, okay, when you get your water bill, and by the way, our water bill comes every 2 months. So you have 6 water bills a year. It still should be cheaper than your gasoline bill, your electric bill, your cable bill, your cell bill, your grocery bill. So, we're really proud that that's our mission, and that's what our department was set up for, because I think, again, it plays a vital role to our community, and the value that it provides for what you get for what you pay is of tremendous value. And that's what I'm really proud of not myself, but the staff that we have at the department in making that their mission behind their work every day.
Yeah, I mean, do you have good examples of where your staff has really gone above and beyond really to meet that mission for the county?
Yeah, pretty much every day. And, they're the unsung heroes. They're not seen by the public for the most part. But an example is, right now, in fact, we have, normally we have 14 sources available in Kona. Right now, we just had word that a well went down. So we actually have 5 wells that are down. And we ask our customers to conserve, to cut back on their water usage, but not everybody does. But still, our staff is going around to all our different locations, changing the way the water flows in our system, changing the way, water tanks, when and where water tanks are calling for water from different sources, depending on which sources have gone down. And we've gone through this several times. But knock on wood, our staff has always been able to, even with that amount of wells being out of service, continue to keep water flowing. So nobody has gone without water service, even with that amount of wells being out of commission. And typically, or natural disaster events. As soon as the coast is clear, as soon as our guys can get out there, say there was a big flood event, hurricane, knocked out power, washed out pipelines, our guys are out there no matter what time of the day, what time of the night, to try to restore that service as quickly and as safely as can. Of course, safety is our utmost priority. I don't want to put our staff in danger. But as soon as the coast is clear and they can access what they need to as part of our infrastructure to get that system back online, they're out there.
Yeah, I think we heard that not too long ago on Maui. People don't think about first responders as being the utility personnel, right? I mean, they got a job to get the water back on, right? And they're out there at the same time some of these other first responders, medical, emergency, fire. I mean, they're dealing with very difficult circumstances, just to get it back. And I think people don't think about that, right? For Big Island, especially, or Hawaii Island, you talked about, what's going on in Kona, but I think that brings up a good point about people probably don't quite know that there's a really unique challenges with supplying the whole island, with water. I mean, can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, and thanks for that question too, because I think as a water utility, or I guess that's typical for government agencies as well. If you're doing your job like how you're supposed to do it, the end result is typically you get taken for granted, right? And then you only make the news, get on camera when something doesn't go quite right, and which is typically why I don't like being in front cameras, because usually it's not the good side of things. But so again, thank you for this opportunity where I get to share some of the good stuff. But for folks that don't know, our island is huge, right? It can fit all the other islands in maybe almost twice. We operate and maintain 23 individual separate water systems. Just because of the size of the island, the topography, the gulches, they're not all interconnected. On Oahu, there's a lot higher density. My understanding is they can bring water from one side of the island to the other. We cannot do that on the Big Island. So every system has its own unique characteristics, different challenges, and actually we service a little over maybe half of the island's population just because of the size, and that we're not everywhere. If you look at large developed areas like Puna, Ka'u, there's a lot of people that are on catchment, private water catchment. And we're okay with that because it's not feasible for us to run a water line to feed everybody on that island. It just does not pencil out. But the customers that we do serve, it's like other infrastructure on the Big Island, is that you're not getting that same density per mile of pipe like you get in other urbanized areas. So for us to put in people say, oh, how come, get houses over here? How come you don't extend your water system to feed them? We could extend a water main 1 mile, cost us $10 million to get 20 additional services. And our rates are really established to cover our O&M, our operations and maintenance, not for capital expansion. So we'll never recoup that capital investment just from water rates alone. And then, where feasible and it makes sense, we seek external sources of funding to assist us with that. But on our own, our whole operating budget is under $70 million. That's some department's annual CIP. And so we just don't have the financial resources to be everywhere and to service everybody on our island. And I think for the most part, people are actually okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think getting back to the early question too, like not only is it a lot of cost to send these services out to faraway places, but I mean the staff to get out there, right? I mean, to read a meter on one area that's 30 miles away or something, right? I mean, you have one guy driving like long distances. I mean, I think that really speaks to the dedication of the department staff, right? I mean, they're on the road a lot.
Yep.
They know the communities they're working in,
Yep.
right? And they're covering these really big areas.
Yep.
So I think that speaks a lot to their dedication for sure.
Yep.
I mean, so you touched a bit just now on maybe like the small rate base and the funding, right, for infrastructure as being kind of an issue, I guess, for the department specifically. I mean, for the rest of Hawaii Island or in general, what do you see as kind of like the big water issues right now for the island?
Yeah, and this could be a several hours long conversation just to touch the tip of the iceberg. So again, water utilities such as our department, our primary mission is to distribute safe drinking water. But as we all know, water touches a whole lot of other things, right? We can talk about, from rain to watershed to where it gets to the groundwater to where we pump it up and then now we distribute it. But speaking from a water utility perspective, we have several things going on right now that are high priority. And again, the safe drinking water component is really highly regulated by both our state Department of Health and the federal EPA. So there's, a lot of rules and requirements to comply with to prove to both of those agencies that we are meeting safe drinking water requirements. So for our department, that's priority number one, right? We have to provide safe drinking water. So one of the biggest challenges behind safe drinking water is that every year or so, there's new regulations that you comply with. You need to comply with. Unfortunately, those new regulations don't come with funding, right? And our only source of funding is our customers. We don't get funds from the county general funds. We don't get operating funds from the state or the feds, but we try as much as possible to seek external sources of funding for capital improvement projects, things like that, so that we can build up those reserves from our ratepayer base, as well as continue to rehabilitate, repair, fix, and maintain the systems that we currently have. So that's one of our biggest challenges right now. And related to that is a different type of resource that a lot of people are not aware of, that we're challenged with right now, is the human resource. We're struggling with having enough staff to do the mission that we need to do. One primary example is our engineering division. We currently have 3 staff engineers in that division, where we should have 12, maybe, ideally 15. And that's in our engineering division. In our operations division, we have 2 staff engineers, where we probably should have 4 or 5. So, that's one of our biggest challenges right now. There's other things going on. We're trying to be a good partner with watershed protection, trying to be a supporter of non-potable water use for non-consumptive needs, but those are actually secondary to our primary mission, which is to distribute safe drinking water. Yeah.
So, I guess on that workforce side, which is a big issue across many sectors, right? I mean, any professional service across the state, right? I mean, is in need, I think, right now, of professionals because of the high cost of living and stuff like that. Do you see the state being a source of support, or maybe there's something the state can do in terms of resource development, or the county even? Do you kind of see that as a need that you'd like to see come maybe from the state government?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because the state, from what I understand, the state, even private sector, is struggling when it comes to the engineering workforce. So, if we're all struggling, we're not going to wait for support. What our department has been quite good at for a couple of decades now is public-private partnerships. How can we work with private entities to kind of fill the gaps that we have? Now it's, we're kind of challenged with rules and regulations and guardrails that are out there regarding, procurement of professional services or contracting and things like that. But, we're considering all options right now, even for, if there's opportunities for private sector to help us overcome our shortage in engineering personnel, things like that. So, that's where they can come in and assist us with design. We're looking at even maybe project management, construction management, things like that. But yeah, right now, to be quite candid, we're kind of triaging.
Yeah, I mean, you got to throw everything out there. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a critical point.
Yep.
Right? You got to kind of do whatever you need to do, right? To just keep, I mean, like you said, your job to meet your mission, it's not like you can just take a break and stop delivering
Exactly.
water,
Right.
right? So
we'll turn off we'll stop delivering water for a couple weeks.
Sorry, the guy never showed up. But let me, so if you were to tell a right out of college engineer, you want them to come work for a water department, how do you pitch it to them and say, come work in Hilo?
And this is a constant, because every summer we're hiring summer students. My perspective is I want to give them exposure just to the engineering field, right? Because like I said in the past, I didn't know what an engineer did or whatever. We also opened that summer student hires to accounting, human resources, just so these college students can experience what the workforce looks like. I think our challenge with government, especially on a neighbor island, with the young folks graduating, for example, UH Manoa, is what would bring them and keep them on the big island, right? Unless they had roots there to begin with, that's challenge number one. And to be, if I see a sharp student, I'd want them to experience other facets of engineering. So I would tell them to go private sector and come government when the time is appropriate. But that hurts us. But I'm hopeful that in the long run, that will parlay itself into an opportunity that we could somehow benefit from. What I tell some of our guys now, and I remind them, not just our engineers, but our staff on our monthly staff meetings, is that you guys are doing a great service to the community. You guys may not be getting the same pay that you might be in some other sector, but your role and what you provide to our community's health and well-being, and the ability, for people to drink, bathe, consume, cook, not only for personal but commercial reasons, the economic results of us doing what we do for our communities, and these are all communities that we live, work, and play in, right? So we have a vested interest in doing a good job at that too. But I try to remind our guys that they have this crucial role and to be proud of what it is that they do.
Yeah, I think, no, that's a great way to frame it for people, right? It's like public service is a very unique kind of job, right? To do. I mean, you're working in service of the public, and it's tough. You don't get the accolades maybe and stuff. Like you said, the pay is not that great, but at the end of the day, you probably go home feeling good about what you did because, you worked hard for a purpose and a mission, right? And you're helping your neighbor or your family, right? I mean, in Hawaii, everyone's related for one thing. But I think too, like part of it is, you work private, because I did this too. I worked private when I first came out, right? And it's kind of like, you want to have a situation where everyone's working for like a kind of noble, aspirational goal, right? I mean, it's not just to make the deadline, and it's not to say private is bad, but public service is very special in that way. So kind of around that idea, or talking about the department, I think there's an anniversary coming up soon. Like, is there anything you can tell us about? Is it a big surprise? Gonna have special guests?
No, and to be quite honest, we're so under-resourced that's actually taken low priority, but it's something we're very proud of. This year marks our 75th year of existence. So the Department of Water Supply was created even before statehood. And we can't take all the credit because I think, I'm not that old to have been around when our department was created, but my understanding is we're modeled after Honolulu Board of Water, which I believe was created in 1929, so we were established in 1949. And I gotta give kudos to whoever it was, the elected officials back then, that somehow decided that, hey, drinking water maybe should be a little bit different. So what I think a lot of our customers and the general public doesn't understand is that our department is semi-autonomous. We're a county government agency, but as mentioned before, we don't get our funds from the general fund, which is typically from real property taxes and things like that. So when people say, hey, I pay your tax, I pay my taxes, so, I'm your boss. No, if you pay a water bill, then maybe you're my boss. But, and what really, I think the biggest benefit of that, and not getting money from the general funds and getting it from our customer base, is one, we have that commitment, almost like a private entity, right, to service our customers how they should be serviced. And the other side that a lot of people don't realize is we get to do that without a lot of some of the political influence that might be impacting other departments and how they may have to prioritize their short, medium, long-term plans and initiatives and things like that. So it's huge to me because we get to essentially try to do the right thing for the right reason, hopefully at the right time, and not because it's an election year or, we didn't do this many projects in some district versus another district kind of thing. Yeah.
Nobody can jump the line, right?
No, yeah.
So considering this autonomy that you guys have and flexibility, maybe one would say, what's your mid and long-term visions for the department?
Yeah. Again, I think our mission will stay essentially the same. We're governed by a water board, and they could elect to revise that mission, but I think that mission encapsulates really why the department was created. So, for me to focus on that and looking long term, there's a lot of things that we can do better. One of them is efforts like this, right? Getting our word out in a positive way, sharing what it is we do and how valuable the resource is, and to not take it for granted. So how can we, in the long term, how can we further engage our customers is what I'd like to see happen. And there's technology right now. I think there's apps where people can track their usage almost real time, and we're not there yet. And one of our challenges again is our island is huge, and I think that technology requires communication like cell service and things like that to get that information, right? It doesn't just magically go from your water meter to your phone, right? It has to be communicated somehow. But that's where I want to have that better engagement with our customers, so they're aware, what it is that their usage plays in the overall scheme of things. I'd like to see better incorporation of centralized data, not just within our department, but external to other departments. So the typical adage is, hey, the right hand don't know what the left hand is doing, right, in government. And I think we're at a place now in a transitional period now where technology is advancing and making it easier. So sorry to other departments, but we don't have that excuse anymore. We need to be more connected and more coordinated and organized on a more comprehensive, holistic scale. So I like to see that happen not only within county governments, but with private sector as well. And I think we're heading towards that with access to information on the web, cloud-based applications and things like that. But I gotta admit, we're far away from that. It's something I'd like to see happen. It probably may not happen I'm in the twilight of my career. I've got less than a handful of years left, but I'd like to lay the foundation so that things like that, so we can have better coordination. So we're minimizing and making all our efforts more efficient, right? Not just within the department, but external to the department as well, to accomplish these higher missions, which is all to help our community thrive, succeed, have what they need to have to do what they need to do. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Keith. I mean, that was great answers, and glad we could dive into it a bit. I want to ask you the really tough questions now before we end.
Okay.
To wrap, and this is unscripted, so you just got to answer right away. Don't think, just answer. Okay. You ready? Here we go.
Speed dating. Okay, here we go.
Koji's or Cafe 100, Lokomoko?
Cafe 100.
Okay.
You're gonna make me an enemy someplace.
Okay. Hilo Lunch Shop or Chichan's for Okazu?
I would go Hilo Lunch Shop.
Okay. This one's an easy one, last one.
Okay.
Ready? Tokunaga's or J-Hara's for?
Oh, that's not an easy one. I go both.
Both.
Jeff, Mike, you guys both solid. I shop at both you guys' places. I would like one frequent flyer card though. If you spend so much money, you get the. But both great places. Hilo Big Island is just a totally great community. Everybody's close knit. Everybody kind of knows everybody, which is kind of why I'm glad I kind of moved, because Kaneohe was like that. And it's kind of still like that on the Big Island. It's kind of losing that character a little bit some places, but in general, it's still like that. So, yeah, appreciate those questions, Jeremy.
Okay, well, thanks, Keith.
Shoot, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Mahalos.
Mahalo.